Okay, hello everybody. Good to have you back again. And I guess you probably, like me, think that you can't get anything good for free, right? It's very difficult to find something that's really good for free. Sometimes we go to the supermarket and we get 50% stuff, but getting something that's really worthwhile for free is pretty unknown. But I want to tell you that today I'm going to offer you something for free, which is really, really valuable. And you can make a lot of money out of it. So I want you just to stay and stay with me for the next, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. But I'm going to give you 5 points to a very, one of my favorite trading strategies. And there's 5 points I want to mention about it. And so the first one that I want to talk to you about is to only look for a setup, an entry point where the chart is an hourly chart and it's in a strong trend. The second thing is that you want to trade in the same direction as this trend, and I'll tell you a little bit more about all of these points just now. The third point is that you want to look for a signal when the prices come back to some lines I'm going to show you. And then the fourth one is only enter into a trade once the 15-minute chart is lined up in the same way. And then, of course, number 5 is only go into the trade when the 1 minute has got the lines in the same direction. Okay, so those are the 5 points I want to talk to you a little bit about today. My voice is a little bit croaky, probably because it's quite early in the morning where I am. So let's talk about that. The first thing that you want to look at in terms of this, one of my favorite strategies, is to use an hourly chart and then to make sure it's in a nice trend. Now, how do you tell whether it's in a nice trend? So let me bring up a chart that's like that, and I can use an actual chart to show you what I'm talking about. So let's share my screen with you. There we go. Right, I hope you can see it. Okay, so here's a chart of the euro pound hourly, and you can see that you've got 3 lines here. You've got a green line. You've got let's make it a bit easier for you to see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so you've got a green line here. You've got a blue line there, and you've got a brown line there. Now, what are those lines? Well, the brown line is your 50 EMA, your moving average. Your blue line is your 20 EMA, and your green line is your 10. Now, some traders, they change those slightly, but I've found that these 3 are very, very reliable. If you get them lined up together, it'll give you an idea of a good trend. So you'll see down over here that these lines are very, very close together. Now, when those lines are very close together, you know that it's waiting for a big breakout. And of course, if it was a 5-minute chart, it wouldn't go very far. But with an hourly chart or a 2-hourly chart, you know the price is going to go a long way. And you see here, it suddenly shot up. Price suddenly shot up over, and I would say that from here back to here is probably about probably 2 days. I think it's probably these are hourly candles, so you've probably got about 48 of these hourly candles. Now you'll see what happened is that these 3 lines broke out. They were very, very close together, indicating that you're waiting for a nice breakout. And then price shot up and then came back to these lines here. Now this is where you want to look for a long trade, because now you can see that these 3 lines have sort of changed direction, and now you've got the the brown line there, the 50 EMA there, and I prefer to use the EMA rather than the SMA, the simple. It's a little bit more reliable, I found. Okay, so now you've got prices come back to that 50 EMA, and you're looking for long trades here, and you're going to be looking for candle signals, which is another lesson, of course. I can't go into it today, but you'll find here, for instance, there was a beautiful signal there, just below the 50. You've got another one there, and you've got another one here, but you would want to wait until price comes back to close to the blue or the brown line. And so you're looking for long signals all around here. Now, so you can see from these three lines that this indicates that we're in a nice trend. Okay, so let's move on to the next point I was going to share with you. Okay, so we've been looking at how to tell a trend on the hourly. Could be the same as any other time frame. And we had those three lines, the 50, the 20, and the 10, all lined up. The 10 above the 20, above the 50. And you notice from that those lines were fairly sharply facing up. They weren't very flat, indicating a very strong trend. So when you've got those three lines, all, especially the brown line, facing upwards at quite a nice steep angle, you know you've got a very strong trend. So that was the first thing. The second thing we were looking at is to wait for price to come back to one of those lines. Now, it can come back to the green line, or the blue line, or the brown line. So you want to be looking for signals, candle signals, when it gets to one of those lines, and you're looking for them on a lower time frame. So let's go back and have a look at that chart again. Let me share it with you again. Let me just try and find it. Okay, there we are. Okay, I think you can see it again. So, and I'll get my little indicator out. So we're looking for long trends here, and we saw actually a signal on the hourly, an hourly signal, very nice one there, indicating the price was going to go up. And there was one there as well. But really what we want to do is we want to look for signals on a lower time frame, like the 15 or the 5-minute trend, 5-minute chart. So you would then take this chart and dial back down to a 5-minute or 15-minute, which is pretty easy on the MT5. For instance, here, you've got this wonderful indicator on the hourly, indicating that price is going to go up sharply, because this is engulfing. I mean, it's engulfed a whole lot of candles here. So it means that price is about to jump up a long way. But you'd wait for price to come back to the blue line, which is actually a combination of the blue and the green. So price came back down to there, and you would be looking for a signal on maybe the 5-minute over here. And why the 5-minute, or why the 15? Why not the hourly? Well, because it's much easier to find a signal on the 5-minute or 15-minute, because you've got a lot more candles than you have on the hourly. On the hourly, I mean, you've only got a few here, but on the 15-minute or the 5-minute, you've got hundreds of them, and there's bound to be a good signal for you on the lower time frames. So it makes it a lot easier, and also your risk to reward is going to be a lot greater, because you can find a stop loss position which is far closer to your entry point than you would if you were looking purely at the hourly chart. So it makes your risk reward situation far, far better. Okay, so let's have a look again. So let's say you found a good signal on the 5 or 15 minute chart, and you took it up a certain distance. Now, how far do you go? Well, that's the subject of another video. This video, I'm just showing you the basics of this trading strategy. So price went up, and then you see it goes up in a kind of circular movement. It sort of went up and came back down in a circular movement, but it didn't go down as far to the beginning place. Then it went up again and came back down. Once again, came back down to the blue line, which is the 20 EMA. And you would look for signals there. And then it went up again and it came back down again to the green line. So when it comes back down to the green line, you would look for signals around here. And then went up again and came back to the blue line. And actually, we have even on the hourly, we have a nice signal here. But I would recommend that you look at the 5 minute or 15 minute for a signal. And then it went up again and came back again. So what you can see happening here is price goes up and comes back down. But when it comes back down, it comes back down to a higher position than when it started. And then it went up again and came back down, but this time it came back down to the brown line. And that's an indication that the trend power is running out. Now, if you have a look here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Usually after the fourth one, the trend starts to run out. So you need to be a little bit careful here. You know that price is starting to turn around, as you can see. The blue line and the brown line are starting to converge. Here they are sort of parallel, and now they're starting to converge, which tells you that the trend power is running out. So this gives you some idea of where to look for trade setups on the lower time frames, because if you find a signal on, let's say, the 5 minute, when prices hit, say, the blue line there, and bounced off it, you know that it's going to give you a nice long 5 minute trade. So that was the next thing I wanted to show you, is that, first of all, you look for an hourly setup that's looking like this, where these 3 lines are in this configuration. And then you look for places to enter where prices come back to one of the lines, and you're looking for a signal on a lower time frame. Okay, so what was the next one? Well, the next one was that you want to make sure that before you enter a trade, let's say, for instance, prices come back here. And you're saying to yourself, okay, this looks a good place to look for a 5-minute trade. I look for a 5-minute signal, a candle signal. You want to make sure that the 15-minute looks like this, where these lines are in the same configuration. You've got the brown below the blue, below the green. Make sure that your 15-minute chart looks the same, because if it doesn't, then you could be in trouble. And then the last thing is, when you find that you've got this hourly like this, and you've got the 15-minute like this, then you want to wait for your 1-minute chart to look the same. Because what could happen is, let's take an example here. No, let's take this one here. This is a better one. You've got the signal here on the hourly, and you think, well, that's great. I've got a signal here. I'll put in a long trade. Well, what actually happens is that price actually came down sharply, both here and here. And it can give you a bit of a fright, actually. You think, oh my goodness me, price is turning around. I better get out of this trade, and you get out at a loss. So you want to make sure that you're still in a good position on the 15-minute chart, and that the 1 minute lines up with this. I have found in the past that if the 1 minute doesn't line up with this, then price can go the opposite way for quite a while and give you quite a fright. And you can lose courage and get out of the trade at a loss. So make sure that all three timeframes are in this kind of configuration where you've got these three lines together. Okay, well, let's get out of there. So that kind of wraps up pretty much the strategy that I have found very, very helpful. You can make a lot of money out of it. However, you don't always find that the charts line up like that. Sometimes the three lines are far flatter, which means that you haven't got such a strong trend. And at other times, you don't find them lining up like that at all. They're all mixed up, and it makes it difficult to trade. But I have found that the euro-pound is regularly in that configuration, either going up or going down. It kind of crosses over from time to time. And I have found generally that you can get roughly 2 of those configurations a month, sometimes going up, and then it crosses over, those lines cross over each other, and so that they're looking exactly the opposite. So you've got the brown one on top, and the blue one underneath it, and the green one underneath that. But I found the euro-pound constantly kind of does this kind of thing. And then it crosses over and goes the other way. So it's a good one to look for on the hourly. Well, I think that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you'd like to make some comments or ask questions, just put that in the comment section underneath the video. And if you enjoyed it, push the like button and subscribe as well. It always helps the channel. If you got more subscriptions and likes, you probably know that by now. And then I look forward to seeing you at the next video. I think one of them that I'm going to do is my favorite reverse trade, which is a little bit more tricky. And if you're a newbie, I would recommend you stay away from it. But if you've been trading for a while, I'll share with you one of my favorite reverse trend trades, which should be quite interesting. All right. So thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to having you back next time. Bye for now.